This is Pucks in 7 with Ryan Paton and Victoria Matiash.
So just before we came on and started to do this, Vic said, we haven't done this in a long time, so I've had to adjust my lighting. I've had to kind of look around and see what I'm doing, the microphone. The whole, same thing with me, Vic. We've been away from this for a little bit for whatever reason and reasons, but we're back. But yeah, it was a little bit odd this morning trying to figure out the
where have you been?
Technicalities of this. Yeah. Like, how
Where
do you turn
have
this
you been?
What do you do? What do you do with this? Anyway, we're back, and just in time too. Deadline's coming up. Pucks in 7. Ryan Payne, Victoria Matiash. Should mention this. This is Thursday, and we're about 30 hours away, roughly, from the trade deadline on Friday, 3 Eastern time. So there's probably going to be some throughout the day today. We're going to dive into some of those deals that have already been done, maybe some speculation as to who's going to be where by the time the 3 Eastern deadline comes on Friday. So we'll go into that. We'll go in the East in a second. Then we'll go to the West. Later on, to Brian Propp, former NHLer. He's had some issues on the ice, but the big one off the ice in 2015, he suffered that stroke. You see behind me here, this is his book, Angel on My Wing. And we're going to talk to Brian about that book and about, again, that life-changing event that happened almost 10 years ago, Vic.
And also hockey in general and his great career. And we're hoping to have a nice, well-rounded conversation with him. One of the greats, one of the Flyers' best of all time.
Absolutely. I remember watching him play.
Me too.
Like McCrimmon's, the Tim Kerr, the
Bob Tim Kerr, yeah.
So many great names that were on those Flyers teams. Anyway, we'll talk to Brian about that later on. And, of course, go into 77 seconds with Brian as well. Okay, let's dive right into this thing. And we're going to begin not with a trade, but with the injury to Jack Hughes. Two things. Number one, what did you think about the play? Again, it happened last Sunday. Vegas and the Devils and Jack Eichel got caught up with him a little bit, and Hughes went in the board. Shoulder surgery done for the year. Will be ready to go, hopefully, by training camp. What did you think about that play? Anything dirty about that?
Nothing that struck me outright. I think it was one of those unfortunate on-ice events.
Yeah.
I mean, this feels like a little bit of a spilt milk conversation to me, too. And also, this is just, it's happening to him too much. And I think that's probably the most frustrating element of this. Not only the fact that it's happening just weeks before the playoffs, the Devils had their eye on a run. Now you lose your top center. I mean, along with Nico Heishers, but you're 1A for sure.
Dougie Hamilton's a little bit injured too right now, right?
Yes. And it's, again, this isn't a first, a second, or a third time. And I know he's a slighter player. Okay, he's not one of those big behemoths out there, but they've got to figure out a way. I don't know what it is. I'm hoping it's just poor fortune and he eventually comes back and strings together some healthy seasons. I feel bad for the guy. I was about to call him a kid. He's a little bit older now. I feel bad for the guy. I feel bad for Devils fans. I feel bad for the team. I feel bad for the organization. It's just lousy. You don't want to see this happening. No. When I first heard he's out for the season, I thought maybe they meant the rest of the regular season.
Sure.
And then you heard about the surgery and you're like, okay, well, that's that.
I felt there was nothing wrong with that play. To your point, it was a hockey play that just went bad, and Jack Eichel felt terrible. I mean, he didn't skate up, but he patted his back. He waited. He was down on one knee.
They're friends.
Yeah. And you mentioned about the injury history with Jack Hughes. Here it is. And so he's 23. He had shoulder surgery last April, missed the final 4 games of the season, had an upper body injury and a shoulder issue in the 23-24 season, and another upper body injury in the 22-23 season. And he's only 23. So to your point, let's hope that this is not something long-term. But the more you hurt yourself like that in the same areas, Vic, over time, time's going to catch up to you a lot faster. And that's terrible. So the Devils now, they have this money to use because he's gone for the season. So now the question is, I guess Tom Fitzgerald has some draft picks coming. He has some assets that he can use. And, like, does he look west? Is he going to try to fill the void? I mean, what do the Devils have to do? Are they going to do anything?
I don't think they should do anything.
Okay.
I don't know what they're going to do.
No, I know.
Because now you're in a position, you lost your top forward.
Yeah.
Okay? And there's been some struggles in New Jersey altogether. The defense hasn't been good enough. The goaltending hasn't been good enough. There hasn't been enough depth scoring. That's been an issue for a while now.
Yeah.
I was actually looking at the standings this morning, Ryan. Are we so sure the Devils are going to make the playoffs?
No, we're not.
No, we're not. So you don't want to load up is my point.
I think we discussed this early on in the season, I think, where we were prognosticating, of course, down the road who's going to make it in. And I think either you or I or both or one of us, we thought the Devils were not going to get in. And it was a distinct possibility.
I thought they would. I did.
Okay, so maybe it was me then that thought it was a distinct possibility that I wasn't too high on the Devils getting in. Anyway, we'll see. It stinks. It stinks because Jack Hughes is so fun. He's so fun to watch, and you feel for the guy.
But I don't think they can jump right in here, Ryan. I really don't. I know. Let's wrap this one. But I don't think that they can go hard on this and bring in any rentals. I mean, if they want to make a hockey trade, that's going to be a trade investment in the future for next year, the year after. That's one thing. But right now, bringing in a rental to bolster, bad idea. Anyway.
72 points right now. The Devils have in their third in that Metropolitan Division. One of the biggest names still, and I can't believe I even said still because you didn't think that this was going to happen. When Mikko Rantanen was traded from Colorado to Carolina, you thought, okay, yep, good. Carolina's offered him, I think, the city. They've offered him the world pretty much. They've offered him as much money as they possibly can. Even the mascot's going to go in as a side thing for him. There's no signing yet. It doesn't seem imminent, and now he is on the trading block, and Carolina Vic is fielding all offers and all calls. I cannot believe that this is actually happening.
If you had told me at the beginning of the season that Mikko Rantanen was going to get traded mid-season, I was going to tell you that you were cuckoo town, okay? Mm-hmm. And if you had told me that he was going to get traded twice,
complete cuckoo town.
Complete. No, you're beyond. You're two neighborhoods past cuckoo town.
I'm gone, and I'm not coming back. Yeah,
it is wild. This is what I love about this game. Even last week, when talking to anybody who wants to listen to me, I was insisting that they were still going to ride this out because you've just picked up one of the top 10 forwards in the league. You are planning to make a run in the postseason. At that point, he had only played 8 games with them when I was having this conversation. And actually in the 9th, he actually put some points up. And I thought, okay, here we go. They're going to mesh. They're going to figure it out and they're going to move forward. And then they're going to decide later. And if they have a good run during the postseason, then he's going to buy a house in Carolina, sign his 8-year deal, blah, 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 blah. And now he's number one. Brian, he's number one on TSN's trade bait board.
No, I know.
Number one.
So there's never been in history something like this where a huge trade went down and then all of a sudden you're thinking, well, let's trade our biggest asset that we acquired from Colorado. I'm going to tell you this. He is never going to, and this is going out on a huge limb, and maybe I'm going to cuckoo town right now. I could be. He's never going to be the same player because he's not going to be playing with Nathan MacKinnon. He's never going to be the same player. Great player, top 10, possibly. The thing that's bugged me about this whole thing is everyone's saying, oh, give him a minute. Give him a minute to acclimate to Carolina. New system, new team, new coach, new players. I get it. Marty Necas has acclimated quite well. He's done very well in Colorado, same amount of time. No one's saying give him a minute. Why? Because he's on a team with Nathan MacKinnon. He's on a line with Nathan MacKinnon. Marty Necas said the other day, I'm having fun. You and I would have a great time on a line with Nathan MacKinnon. I would just in awe because you know how I feel about the guy, right?
Yes.
It's one of those things.
You're in love.
But I just think there's something with Rantanen. He does not want to be in Carolina. He's still shocked. Maybe. I think he still is with the trade, and I just don't see it happening. So if you're not going to sign long term, you trade the guy. You need to get something. And what about the teams interested? The Florida Panthers supposedly all in on this guy right now because they got Kachuk on LTIR.
I don't want to get too excited about that, but the idea, and I understand it's never going to be MacKinnon again, but the idea of Rantanen playing on a top line with Alexander Barkov.
No, I know. Yeah.
Excites me. Okay. Yeah. So, and I'm not a Florida Panthers fan. I mean, I appreciate them, but if I was a Florida Panthers fan, I would be very excited about that particular prospect. We're also hearing Toronto because we always hear Toronto, and the Kings are supposed to, we'll get back to Toronto in 2 seconds, but the Kings, that's an interesting one too, because Mikko Rantanen just doesn't seem like a Los Angeles Kings type player.
Let me throw this at you then, and I'm glad you said that. Who is an LA Kings type player?
Anze Kopitar.
Who's not on the Kings? What is because I completely agree with you. Rantanen and the Kings, it doesn't fit. It's like oil and water. So what is a Kings player then?
I think it would be very interesting to see Brock Nelson there. But let's get to the Islanders. Let's get to the Islanders in a minute. Now your thoughts on Rantanen to Toronto.
Yeah, so I've heard that Matthew Nye's, his name is, because he's got the contract coming up. I don't care who it is. The only person that I would trade Matthew Knies for, the two players in the game, are Nathan McKinnon and Connor McDavid. Outside of that, maybe Sidney Crosby. I think you don't find many Matthew Knies, and this is not because he plays in Toronto. You and I are from Toronto. We follow the Leafs. This has nothing to do with it. I think what he brings to the game, you do not find that on many teams, if any at all. He is tough. Look what he did last night, fighting White Cloud. I know this was from what happened last year.
I hated that.
I know, but hey, he used the left hand. I'm trying to make.
Okay, and then what? Breaks his hand ahead of the postseason. I can't stand that stuff. Go ahead.
You just. Matthew Knies, to me, is somebody that a team needs, and Toronto needs someone like that, especially with what he did last night, putting everything aside. The guy, I wouldn't do it. So if Matthew Knies is in any discussion involving Rantanen to Toronto, don't do it.
Straight up 1-for-1, you don't make that deal.
No, I don't.
I would.
You what? You would?
Mikko Rantanen? Yes, I would.
No, I wouldn't. What about the Lightning? Here's their latest deal, and they're probably going to do some more. Julien Brisebois, he's one of, honestly, you look around and it's easy for us to be armchair GMs because, we should do this, we should do that, look what they did, all that. But Brisebois saying the other day, we're looking to win now, but we're also looking down the road. And he's always been able to find ways, and Stevie Y did it too when he was in Tampa.
They're so clinical there. They're so clinically run, the Lightning.
Unbelievable. And so he makes that deal. Oliver Bjorkstrand, Yanni Gourde, 5th-round pick in 26, going to Tampa. Seattle trading Michael Eyssimont, and then 3 picks, 1 in 25, 26, and 27. So Seattle getting that. But now you have Tampa loading up, and as if they need to load up right now, Vic. They're one of the hottest teams in the league.
Can you imagine the conversation with Yanni Gourde when he gets called into the office in Seattle? How happy? How happy that guy was. Hey, Yanni, you're getting traded. Okay, where? Back to where you won, cups.
Right. Thank you. I'm calling the Uber. Yeah,
I'm packing my bags. Right. And now Oliver Bjorkstrand is going to get the opportunity to play in the top 6 with Anthony Cirelli and probably Brandon Hagel. So he's going to be pretty chuffed as well. And poor Eyssimont, that's the other phone call. Now you're going and you're now nothing wrong. This is not against the Seattle Kraken, but they're a rebuilding team and the Lightning are a contender right now. So obviously some people are going to be happier with that trade than others. But Yanni Gourde was a key part of their victories, part of that third line checking line. Remember that one? So they know exactly what they're doing. And he's going to be very, very, very happy returning out east, I imagine.
And depth in third line, fourth line, those are what win you cups. You can
absolutely
have many you want on the top 2, but it's third and fourth line guys that win you cups. Again, we're about 30 hours away roughly from the trade deadline tomorrow. Again, this is Thursday we're doing this, so a lot's going to happen in the next 30 hours or so in the NHL. The Penguins... You thought that you think that this makes absolutely no sense. So they were involved. Go ahead.
All right. So, we should mention the trade. The Penguins brokered a trade. I'm not going to get into the Desharnais one because that one's irrelevant. We don't need to talk about it. Okay, we'll talk about the Nashville trade. Yeah. So they traded Michael Bunting to Nashville for Tommy Novak and Luke Schenn.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the justification for trading for Tommy Novak is because he's younger than Michael Bunting.
Right.
Tommy Novak is 27 years old and Michael Bunting is 29 years old.
No, I know. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just stating facts here. Yep. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Luke Schenn, this is a team that is aging, and the biggest issue has been the fact that they're growing older and they want to apparently get younger, and they traded for an old defender. Now we're hearing that he might be a piece that's moved again somewhere.
He absolutely will be. That's what this trade's about. Yep.
Okay. And then I will reserve judgment on this trade until Luke Schenn is moved somewhere else, depending on what the Penguins get back. Because right now, as it currently stands, this trade makes zero sense.
No, it does. It makes no sense. But I'm with you. I think that this is a precursor to another trade.
It has to be.
It has to be that the Penguins, because this does nothing for Pittsburgh. And Kyle Dubas has said that pretty much everybody is up. Let me throw this at you. Any chance whatsoever that number, you know where I'm going,
of course,
that number 87 gets moved?
I don't think so. Okay. I love the prospect of it. I love the discussion. I just think he's loyal to a fault, and I don't think he's going to leave town. That's all. I think he should. And then
I'm
he
with
can
you as
come
well.
back and retire a Penguin and work in management for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
But right now, I think it would be neat to see him have a shot at another cup with another organization, because he ain't winning squat with the Penguins for the next 2-3 years. He's not.
No, he's not. No, he's not. He's too proud to be a Penguin. Another team that a lot of people are looking at, and a couple of big names are on that club. Kyle Palmieri, Brock Nelson. I'm talking about the New York Islanders. From what we've read and heard and seen, the Isles, they have a contract offer to either they present it to Nelson or they will. But my sense is that that's not going to happen. And Palmieri said the other day too, he said, look, this is a business. This stinks. This is part of it. I get it. You have down on the lineup here that they need, N-E-E-D in capitals, they need to sell.
They do. It's not happening. If miraculously they squeeze into the postseason, and we've seen that dance before, I don't think so either, Ryan. But if just let's say they go on a 10-game win streak or something ridiculous, okay, and they squeeze in, they're going to get absolutely steamrolled again in the first round, okay. And there's nothing worse. What does our friend Dennis always say to us? That finishing in the mushy middle. There's nothing worse. And Islanders fans are frustrated. You can actually get something decent back from Kyle Palmieri if he goes to another team and he's able to grow his beard back now that he's not playing for Lou Lamoriello anymore. You're going to be able to get something back for him. He is so super clutch. I would love to have him on my contending hockey team. I absolutely would. The guy scores big goals when it matters.
I'm with you.
They're going to get somebody back. The Brock Nelson one is a little trickier for me because I know they do want to have him as a part of their future. But dude, right now, depending on what you get back, as currently constructed, you do not have a playoff winning team. So why are you banging your head over and over and over again against the wall? Having said that, I do not move Noah Dobson, and I think you probably agree with that.
No, I completely agree with you with that, but there are some pieces that I do. And you mentioned about the Isles. If miraculously they find a way to get in, it's not going to happen. You and I have talked about this a lot, and everyone knows it. It's one thing to be they are 4 points back of the final wild card spot, but they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams in front. And everybody knows about sports. All those 5 teams are not going to go, each of them on 5-game skids at the same time, and the Isles aren't going to go on a 5-game winning streak. It just doesn't happen like that. So they're not going to get it. We were going to talk about Ovi next, and then we were going to talk Boston, but let's do Boston because it sticks with the wild card situation. I can't remember the last time, well, at least in recent memory, that Don Sweeney or whoever is leading the Boston Brass is going into the deadline as sellers rather than buyers. But that is what's happening right now.
And it's sane, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so your 2 top defenders are out for the rest of the season in McAvoy and Lindholm. Brad Marchand's done pretty much for the year. I know it's week to week, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Jeremy Swayman has played like poop all season long. Okay. And there hasn't been scoring depth. They've already been struggling. I like the sanity coming out of Boston right now. Just because you've had this reputation for being in it every single year doesn't mean that you just can't eat it one year and go, okay, you know what, guys, we don't have it. So let's start moving the Fredericks and other pieces that people want, and we can get something back and look to next year. Because again, just like the Islanders, Ryan, even if they miraculously squeeze in, also not going to happen. But even if they do, and they come up against Florida or Washington or some team of that ilk, it's going to be over in 5. And then what was the point? So, look to next year. There's nothing wrong with that. It's sane.
No, I agree with you. The 8th lowest scoring team in the NHL, the Boston Bruins, if you can believe that. The 8th lowest scoring. I wouldn't have put them there. But
neither would I.
8th lowest scoring team. But I'm with you with that. And the point you made about certain teams at some point who have had such success, which the Bruins have had, just deal with it. Figure it out and say, hey, this is not our year. So put it aside, come back in October. You have to. A lot of teams have to do that. Most teams have to do that at some point. They may go on a 10, 15-year great run, but at some point it's good. Look at Pittsburgh. They've been on a great run. And I know it hasn't been as great the last couple of years, but they run a huge run for so many years. Now they're realizing different things. Anyway.
Very quickly before we get to Ovi, who are your 2 wildcard teams in the this tradition? Who are your 2 wildcard teams in the East?
Stop it. So I've been sticking with Detroit and Columbus.
Okay.
I'm going to stick with Detroit and Columbus.
It's Columbus and the Rangers. Okay, good. We got that sorted. Now we can move on.
Good, because I didn't have any explanation as to why. I just said I'm just loyal. I'm just loyal. Okay, Alex Ovechkin, he's 10 goals away, and I want to talk a bit about him in a different light when it comes to him and comparing what he's done in his career with what Wayne Gretzky did. He's going to get this thing, Vic. He has 20 games left to go and 10 goals left to go. But what is also great about this is that it's not just doing this for a personal gain and for historical, but it's also for something that touches a lot of people.
So he's come up with the great chase for victory over cancer, and he's going to, so every goal, and I think it started already, but goals he is scoring, he's going to donate money to the V Foundation for Cancer Research. So it's just adding an extra positive spin to what's already been a very interesting, race to watch. So I like that. When you make something even better out of something that's already been good and fun, then, hip hip hooray for me.
I was looking at, completely agree with that, and I think it's awesome. He is the best purest goal scorer in the history of the game, hands down. In my mind, I looked down a couple things at the breakdown of the goals. He's scored 885, so he's 10 away from breaking Gretzky's 894, the record. 559 of them have been even strength, third overall all time. Power play goals, 321. That's a record. I think 318 have been from that one spot. I believe it's a little bit less than that, but you know what I'm saying. Shorthanded, he scored 5 goals shorthanded. And empty net, I didn't know this. He has 64 empty net goals, and that's a record. That's the most in the history of the NHL.
They all count. Also, the game changed in terms of how points were allocated and all that. So that affects that as well.
Last one here with the Gretzky and the Ovi comparable. And I hate to compare different eras. Gretzky played in one, Ovi's played in another. That's like comparing Michael Jordan and LeBron James in different
Which people
eras.
never do, Ryan, ever.
No, never. By the way, can I...
Go.
I have no time for him. Anyway. Gretzky played in 1,487 games, and he scored 894. Ovechkin's played 1,471, and he scored 885. So he'd be well over 1,000 now, as everybody knows that, because of the lockouts and because of COVID and the games that he's missed, yada, yada, yada. I saw this statistic or this picture about the goalies that Wayne Gretzky faced and the ones that Alex Ovechkin has faced. And they have Ovi facing Andrei Vasilevsky, and he's a very big goaltender, and the pads are huge. Then they have a goalie, I don't know who this is, but he's on Pittsburgh, and it shows how small he is, how small the pads were, and how much net there was. So basically they're saying that if Gretzky was in today's game, he wouldn't be able to do what he did back then in the game then. What do you think of that?
I think you're going to incite some riots with the
I'm not trying to.
I am keeping my mouth shut.
I just think it's
of course. Yeah. Of course. And but you know what? Maybe if Gretzky did play today, he had to be given that opportunity for him to prove us wrong, right, however, right? Yeah. But it is worth pointing out that the equipment was different, the goalies were different, the players were different. It was all different. So absolutely, for sure.
Never going to compare the different eras. I remember Michael Jordan said this. When asked, I forget who asked him this, but it was like, what do you think of you being called the greatest of all time? He said, that's a disrespect to the ones before, to the Wilt Chamberlains, to the Bill Russells, to the whoever. LeBron James doesn't say that. He simply says he's the greatest. It's okay. We'll take a break. A team that's not playing very well, in fact, they're not the greatest right now, Edmonton. We'll talk about them. We'll go to Vancouver, what's going to happen with Vancouver. Later on, Brian Propp will join us. And again, we'll talk about his book, Angel on My Wing. Great stuff with Brian. And we'll dive into that. Pucks and 7. Brian, Paton, Victoria, Matiash. We'll do that.
Welcome back to Pucks and 7 with Ryan Paton and Victoria Matiash.
We went to the east. We'll go west in a second. Brian Propp, former NHLer, is going to join us. We'll talk about the book behind me, Angel on My Wing. It's a great read, not just about hockey stories, but also stories off the ice and a big health scare that he had. There it is again, right in front of your screen, Angel on My Wing. Back in 2015, he had a stroke. So we'll talk to Brian. He's kind enough to join us. He'll do that in just a little bit. Again, we're less than 30 hours away from the trade deadline. In the NHL happens on Friday, tomorrow at 3 Eastern, so there's going to be a bunch of things that we will miss. We'll recap those, of course, next time that we do this podcast. Let's go West, Vic. We'll talk Hellebuck. We'll talk Dallas, the St. Louis Blues, the wild card race, your beloved Flames, hanging in this thing.
Yeah, they are.
If there's one contending team that needs a boost, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4, you look no further than the Pacific Division and the Edmonton Oilers.
What's going on there?
I don't know. Let's move
Okay.
on. No, okay.
Well, I mean,
They've sprung a leak. They've sprung a leak.
Yes, they are definitely leaking oil, as you would say.
Yeah.
It's the defense has been disorganized and scrambling. The goaltending hasn't been good enough. I'm not going to blame it all on them because it doesn't deserve to be laid all
There's
on
only
them.
2 players that score and put up points. And if
That's
those
okay.
2
I was going to
players
get to
don't score
depth
and put up
scoring.
points, they're not winning games.
Okay, so yes, depth scoring is also a massive issue. What do you do? You're the GM. What do you do?
First of all, I would not play Stuart Skinner again. I would keep Calvin Pickard in and tell him it's his net to lose. That's the biggest thing that I would do. And
But
I've
he
said
was,
this-
but he was pretty caca the other day too, Ryan.
He
I don't
was.
necessarily.
But I've said this for weeks that there's something with Skinner, and the Skinner who we saw last season, I just don't think it's this season at all with him.
Okay.
So that's the first thing I do. Second thing I do is if I haven't gone down to talk to these guys, and if McDavid hasn't gone down to talk to them, they're not a bad hockey team. So this is not the time as well to get in some sort of funk. The third thing I do is I would be pretty active, and I'd be looking. I know Alex Tuch's name is in the.
That's an interesting one.
I think that would be great. I think that would be a great acquisition for Edmonton. I think they need to get past this deadline. And then once they get past the deadline, we'll see them settle down. But this to me is one of the stranger stories. I did not see this coming at all with the way Edmonton didn't get off to a great start like they didn't last year, but they were playing really well. Then the Four Nations hit. And since then, even McDavid has not been playing as well. And as I said to you, when McDavid and Draisaitl don't score, the team is terrible.
Here's my concern about bringing in another piece like an Alex Tuch. They've been doing that. I really thought Victor Arvidsson was going to work out. Jeff Skinner less so, but I really thought Victor Arvidsson was going to be a big answer to what ailed the Oilers. And we're talking about a team that came 1 game short of winning the Stanley Cup. Okay.
Right.
So I'm just wondering what else is happening there that can't be fixed by bringing in an effective body like a Tuch. I think they need another defender. I think that's a situation as well, or at least they need to figure out what's going on in their back end.
Doesn't every contending team would love another defender?
Yeah, I know. You need depth
tough.
scoring, you
It's
need a
hard.
center, and you need a defender. I suppose so, but I think they sort of really do because right now, okay. Here's my last one I want to ask you. What do you do with Evander Kane?
Oh, so here's the thing with him. This is, I have so many different things. I won't take too long in it.
Focus.
Huh? So he wants to play. He's injured. If he doesn't play, then Edmonton can use that space to do something.
They sure can.
Right? So this is all up to him. And every time I say the name and think of Evander Kane, I just don't think about the talent that he has on the ice. Because when he wants to and when he's engaged, he's a very good hockey player.
He scores goals.
Right? But it's everything that comes with him, Vic. It's everything off the ice, no matter where he's been. And just that is a huge concern. I would say to him, look, you need to make a decision and make it fast because you're affecting our team going forward. And if you care about this team at all, you need to do something to help us out. I don't know what you do because he's holding up this team. He's holding up this team from making maybe a significant move here that could help them.
Yeah, but if he's healthy enough to play.
I know.
Right? Them's the rules. Right?
I know.
It's a tough one. I don't have an answer for it
It's a
either.
fine line.
I really don't. I don't. I want Evander Kane on my team to score goals and play that physical game that he can play very effectively when he doesn't get into trouble. But like you just said, it's the whole package that's a little bit concerning. But he makes hockey teams better when he's on. He absolutely does.
He absolutely does. It's everything off the ice. That's the only thing. The Winnipeg Jets have been soaring. They've been flying. They've put all the different words you want. It's their basically President's Trophy to lose. They're just a phenomenal team. Here's the question now going into this last, I don't know how many, what are we at? A month left to go?
You got a quarter of the season to go.
Connor Hellebuck, does he hit the 50-win plateau?
No! Of course he doesn't. How many does he have right now? 36?
Why not?
How many does he have right now?
He needs 14, and the Jets have 20 games to go.
Okay. So first of all, I don't want him to play 14 more games if I'm a
No,
fan of the Winnipeg Jets.
He's played 48.
I want him to rest a little bit.
Right.
And let's get Eric Comrie out there and make sure that he knows what he's doing in case, disastrously, he needs to be counted on in the postseason.
Yeah.
All right. Because this is a marathon, not a sprint for the Jets now. All right. They're in there. They're locked. It's good. I understand he's a competitive son of a gun. But right now I am sitting down with Connor Hellebuck and I'm like, bud, do you know what? You're going to start to take it easy. And you're going to play about 10 or 12 games left. So even if you win every single one of them, which he will not, and I know his winning percentage is phenomenal, but you're not going to win every single one of them. I don't want to see him play 14 games. Never mind his chances at winning every single one of them. He does not make 50. He makes 40 and he flirts with 45. Maybe he does not win 50.
Here's what's astonishing. And the reason why I brought that up is the other day when he's been, and I'm with you. He does not need the 50. It's really not that big of a deal.
He wants a Stanley Cup.
He wants a cup.
Right.
The record is 48, and it's held by Marty Brodeur and Braden Holtby. And Marty Brodeur, when he had the 48 wins, he played 102 games that season, even though I'm kidding. He played 78.
I didn't even notice.
You didn't get it, right? He played.
I'm like, all right, yes. How many?
He played every night.
Yes.
He played 82,
I remember.
and then he replayed
another
30 to get to the 48. You know how many games Braden Holtby, it took him to get to 48? In 2015, 2016, I was astonished with this. 66.
Wow.
48 wins in 66 games. Marty had 48 in 78 games.
Right.
It's astonishing. Anyway, I'm with you. Connor, no need. Just keep winning. Remember what happened last season, too, in that first round against Colorado.
Up.
Rest. Question. Does Vancouver need to trade Brock Besser? Is Vancouver going to trade Brock Besser?
Counter question. Do the Vancouver Canucks make the playoffs? I'm not going to ask you to answer that right this second. You can in a second. I don't believe they do. And if they do, they're not going to last very long. I mean, I don't even want to get into the Pettersson situation anymore because he's been piled on so badly now. Let's just say it's a bad year and hopefully there's something around the corner. We know Demko's condition. The rest of the team isn't scoring. This team is winning nothing. Okay. Yeah. So if you're in a situation where you're going to get stuff back to be better next year, because this isn't a Pittsburgh situation. The Canucks can be better again next year. Okay. Mm-hmm. And also Quinn Hughes is hurting again. Like this is like, it smells like Boston, but they're a better team.
And Thatcher Demko is nowhere near healthy.
Okay. So now you're going to put all of your eggs in Kevin Lankinen's basket. That's just a really big ask. So let's even if they do squeak in again, it's not going to be pretty. If you can get some good return for Brock Besser, you got to trade Brock Besser because right now he looks miserable there too. Everybody looks miserable, but he looks miserable.
It's been a brutal season. I mean,
fresh page.
Yeah, it's the injuries, as you said, and it culminated. I think it's still bad, but it culminated in the rift between JT Miller and Elias Pettersson. Pettersson is miserable. He's not playing well at all. I mean, if you trade Brock Besser, and if you end up trading Elias Pettersson, you're not going anywhere for a few years. You're not. Out of those two, though, who I would trade Elias Pettersson. What's the common name in this whole thing in this season that could be the reason why one of the reasons why there's so many issues off the ice? It's Pettersson. He had an issue with JT Miller. Seems like he has an issue with a bunch of other people, and they have issues with him. I'm just throwing this out there.
He is still somebody who scored 102 points 2 seasons ago.
That's fine. Fine.
Listen, let me please
carry on.
He's at top at his best. He's an elite center in the league.
Okay. His
value could not be any lower than it is right now.
Right.
So if I'm the Vancouver Canucks, I'm at least waiting until the offseason. All right. And I have my fingers crossed that he pulls his head out of his bum because something's bugging the guy mentally. And I actually feel badly for him. I think he needs to go and see a sports psychologist and sit in that room 3 hours a day until
being on that team. That's
bothering
him.
I don't know. I think it's bigger than that because he wasn't exactly lighting it up at the Four Nations either, Ryan, and he was playing for Sweden. So that's there's something wrong right now. So I'm hoping if I'm the Canucks that he smartens up for the last quarter of the season. He actually played a decent game the other night, and maybe onward and upward, start shooting the puck more on net, and then you increase your value a little bit, and you're going to get a much better return if he's playing better than he is right now. That's the only thing. There's no rush here to me. That's all I'm saying. They're not making the playoffs. If they do, they're not going far. Okay. And so there's no rush here.
No. And for anybody who is saying, oh, he's making so much money and he's not,
I don't care about that.
exactly. It means nothing because it's no one's fault at all for signing a contract like that. Anybody would. Let's move on again. Brian Propp's going to join us too in a bit. We're going to go through this book with him, Angel on My Wing, the former NHLer. We'll dive into that. The Dallas Stars, I think you and I have talked about this at length over the course of the season doing this podcast. They just continue to be Dallas. They just continue to be there in the division and slowly, oh, ho-hum, they're winning games. Look what they've done in the last three. They beat LA 6-2, beat St. Louis 6-3, beat the Devils 4-3. Before that, we could knock off San Jose 8-3. They won there. 4-2 over the Devils, 4-3
Yeah, no,
over
they
the
beat the
Isles.
Leafs the other night.
Yeah, again, you have the lineup. This team scares me, and it scares me too, and it should scare the rest of the Western Conference.
I think the Winnipeg Jets have done the Dallas Stars such a solid this year by playing
huge.
so well.
Huge.
And they have just taken any focus and attention and spotlight away from, I think right now we can say, the second best team in the West. I don't really think there's much of a conversation there.
Nope,
okay.
Nope.
So, and all of a sudden, and I know the Heiskanen injury sucks large, but Brian, they're probably going to have him back first round of the postseason.
Yeah.
Now they have that extra cap space to work with. They're probably going to have Tyler Seguin back for the postseason. The addition of Mikael Granlund has made them better.
Yeah.
I mean, we have seen now what Hartley's capable of. Why Johnston is now on fire again. This is the most well-balanced team. And I'm even putting this in the conversation with the Jets. This is the most well-balanced team in the NHL right now.
You haven't even mentioned Jake Ottinger.
And he's playing well again. We're not talking about it.
Exactly. So
we only talk about Jake Ottinger when he's struggling. We never talk about him when he's going about his business of winning hockey games. You notice that?
Isn't that what we do with a lot of athletes?
Yes, of course.
It stinks.
We just focus on the negative.
Yep.
But this is a team. If I'm a fan of another team in the Western Conference, I'm terrified. Yep. I'm terrified of facing Dallas. I would rather, and I'm serious here, I would rather play the Jets in the first round than the Dallas Stars. And I mean that 100%.
100% agree.
Oh, you agree? I thought you were going to push back on that.
Dallas is, Dallas is scary. It is.
I don't want to play them.
Three more issues we'll talk about in the West. The Kings, we addressed this a little bit in the first segment when we dove into where Mikko Rantanen may end up. And the question I threw to you was, what exactly is an LA King? Who is a typical LA Kings player? And you said Anze Kopitar, which is the type of insight which everyone comes here for, because that's very true. He's been there from the get-go.
No, but he's like a sulky candidate two-way center. That's what I mean. He's responsible at both ends of the ice. That's the LA Kings identity. That's what I meant by that.
Throw this in there again. Is Rantanen the type of Pete's that would be? I mean, of course, he'd be welcomed in LA. But is this really something the Kings are going to go after aggressively?
I mean, it would be so interesting. I think it would fascinate me. How's that? I think they have to. Okay, listen. It's probably not going to be Rantanen because there's a whole bunch of teams that are in, and just by sheer numbers, if you're going to give me one team versus the field, I'm taking the field. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, but they need something. They need a little bit of pop up front. I like the way the Kings play. I know other people call them boring. I don't find them that boring.
They're 24th in the league at 2.8 goals per game.
It's not going to cut it.
And they're 6th in goals against. So the goals against is great. Goals for, and
it's not going to cut it.
No, it's not.
So they need something, whether it is a Brock Nelson down the middle, I think Kyle Palmieri honestly would be a great fit to be seriously a veteran sliding in there, pop him on the top six, secondary power play. There's somebody who could put the puck in the net because they have so many playmakers in LA, right?
Yeah, they do.
They need the finishers, and there's some guys who are just not doing it on a regular enough basis. So they need something, and they are going to add something. There is no way, again, 29 hours before the trade deadline. I will say this right now. There's no way that the Kings stand pat. We are going to be looking at a slightly different Kings team in 48 hours from now or however it is.
Okay. So with that in mind, then let's shift to the St. Louis Blues.
I'm so excited about this conversation because you and I have not talked about this casually in our own personal time. So I want your take on this. Go ahead.
Take on what? Jordan Binnington, if they're going to trade him? I'm just trying to wrap my head around that whole thing. Because where are they at right now when it comes to the playoffs? They're still in this thing. So right now, St. Louis they're 4th in the wild card. They're 1 point back. They play 2 more games than Vancouver, 2 more than Calgary, which we'll get to in a second, 1 more than Colorado. Really, it's the race for the second spot as of right now, because the Avalanche are in that first spot.
And they could get it.
They could. So why the heck would you even trade a Jordan Binnington or think about it?
Because again, with other teams we've been talking about, so they get into the first round.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go up against the Winnipeg Jets
Mm-hmm.
or the Vegas Golden Knights
Mm-hmm.
or the Dallas Stars, right? It's not going to be Dallas, actually. But they're going to go up against a legitimate powerhouse in the West. And you and I have both watched Blues games this year.
Yeah.
How do you think that's going to go?
I know.
So now the argument for keeping Jordan Binnington is he still has
He
term.
just won you the Four Nations at the
Well, he didn't win the Blues anything when Canada Four Nations, but yes. And actually, you know what? And I owe him a little bit of an apology. I think both of us do. We didn't think he was the right choice for Team Canada, and he proved to be.
100%.
So, mea culpa, definitely deserved kudos there. And we're not certainly not alone in that.
Yeah.
He still has term if he wants to be a part of the Blues moving forward.
2 years left at $6 million.
So that's the argument for keeping him, to see what you can do next year. But you also, if you are running the Blues, you need to add more stuff moving forward, because I watch that team. Okay. Now, if you're going to put everything in Joel Hofer's basket, who's actually a pretty decent goaltender, and then you're obviously going to have to pursue some other net minding help elsewhere, and you get something really good back for Binnington, I think it's something you have to listen to.
What's the message, though, that sends to the Blues fan base?
We're looking towards the future because we're not winning squat right now. I would be happy with that.
They could squeak in, and even
then what? And then Islanders it and get smashed in 4 or 5.
Okay, so let's go into then the final topic for this West. What about any team that gets in the second wild card? It's going to be the same thing. Calgary's going to be out. Any team that gets in that second wild card to face the Jets, more than likely will be knocked out. So is your mentality then the same thing with Calgary as it is with the Blues, as it is with all these teams that just get in? Why? Why is it different?
Because I don't think Calgary has any unreasonable expectations of doing any more than just squeaking into the postseason. I've also heard coming out of Calgary, Craig Conroy is not going to make any major moves. Not rental wise. If he makes a trade, it's going to be a trade for next year and the year after and the year after that. Okay. Because they certainly do need help at center. So if they do bring in a center, it's going to be a long-term commitment, right? So I like the fact that they're playing with bonus money right now, and they know that. So a little bit of experience for a few of the younger players on that squad. Hey, get Dusty Wolf out there. Let him feel the playoff pressure for a few games, because even if they do get steamrolled, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, because they weren't supposed to be there in the first place. The Blues were considered more of a contender and have won recently. They're not in the same position. That's why I think it's different.
Okay. I see that. And also, speaking of the Blues, Braden Shen's name's being thrown around, right?
Does he move, do you think? Like, if they're going to move him, why don't you just move everybody?
This is the thing. If you move him, you don't move Binnington. If you move Binnington, you don't move Shen. To me, it's one or the other. And I'm more for the Shen, because I think moving Binnington would be a mistake.
Do you have his term in front of you left, Braden Shen's? I can't remember it right now. Is it 2 years?
I don't have Braden Shen's in front of me, but I can get that with my crack research staff here. The one thing I will say, too, about you mentioned the Flames, they need help scoring. They're 30th. In the league. Only 2 teams worse than them right now.
Focus on that in the offseason, though. Let's just ride this out and have a little bit of fun. So
Braden Shen has, what's he at here? He has 3 years left at 6.5. He'll be a UFA at 36. So there we go. Okay, again, we're less than 30 hours away. A lot of things are going to change. A lot of things will happen. So maybe half these players we've talked about already will be dealt. Who knows? But we'll recap that when that happens. We'll come back, and Brian Propp, former NHLer, will join us. We'll talk about his time on the ice, off the ice. The book is Angel on My Way, and looking forward to this discussion with Brian. Pucks and 7, Ryan Paton, Victoria, Matiash, Brian Propp is next.
Welcome back to Pucks and 7 with Ryan Paton and Victoria Matiash.
After my career, ended in the 95, I was thinking about writing a book, but I didn't think about it too much. But after my stroke in 2015, I realized how lucky I am to be alive and alive. And so Wayne Fish, like 7 years before or after, he had the idea to do a book, but he helped Chris Therien, Flyers, write a book too, and so it helped me just with his help. We did the recordings for a year, and then it took 9 months to edit everything, but I think it turned out pretty well, so I'm pretty happy with it, and so like I just happy to promoting it, for the people, especially the people who have strokes, and how I tell them how they can rehab and get better.
It's actually, we both read the book. I read it very quickly, and then my husband actually read it right afterwards, and he didn't have to read it, and he wanted to read it. We both really enjoyed it. It was something we appreciate about it. In particular, it's a little bit different, is because you've had the health issue. You suffered a massive stroke that could have killed you September 3rd, 2015. But you also were very candid about your hockey career. And it was, I think, the mixture of not the two lives, you're one person, right? And you've experienced both. But 1,003 points in the NHL doesn't come easily, right? You're a legendary player, particularly with the Flyers, with everything else. So first of all, but let's get back to the stroke first. How are you? How are you feeling today? Because now we're approaching the 10-year mark.
Yeah, so like I've done a bunch of things to help me much better. Like after my stroke, like at the start, I couldn't talk or walk at all. It took me a year and a half to get better, but thankfully, it just my right fingers on the right side still don't work. But I can play golf right-handed, and play hockey. I can't shoot the puck that well, but I have a hockey event this coming week in Brandon. With Trottier and a couple other players, and so
cool.
It'll be nice because I'm getting inducted into the Brandon Wheat Kings Hall of Fame like next week, and so I appreciate that. But just for me, I'm doing really well, especially because I couldn't speak at all. It took a long time with my speech. I still have aphasia, which means that the words don't come out the right way. And so I slow it down, and I've come a long way from that. And so I'm happy to be alive and doing as well as I have. Yeah, of course, because I almost died, and I'm just lucky because I had AFib after my career, and so I was taking blood thinners. And then a couple years after that, I had an ablation of the heart, which took 6 hours. And so I didn't want to take blood thinners my whole life. And so that was going to be okay. But then after a couple of years, I think the medication wasn't working. And so unfortunately I had an AFib, and I still skated twice a week in New Jersey, and it was in good shape. And so I didn't notice that I had AFib or in AFib. And so that night, in the middle of the night, the first day I was okay. Second day I stayed in the rented house, and then clot went into my heart, into my brain, 3 different places. So the scans that the doctors said that I should have died. But thankfully, my dad was a Lutheran minister in Saskatchewan, and he preached in English and German every Sunday. And so that faith really helped. And I think that I'm just like Trump. He's happy to be alive and doing as well as we are.
It's great to hear. It's great to hear that you are where you are, considering everything you have been through medically in particular. And I know the rehab was very difficult. You explain it very well in your book. Let's veer a little bit into the hockey stuff now. 4 Nations tournament just happened, right? And I know you've had many opportunities. How special was it during your career to represent Canada on the international stage at different levels?
Yeah, it was always important for me because especially in the early '80s, we lost in the first round of the playoffs in '81 and '82, and then I got picked up for Team Canada, the World Championships in '82 and '83. So I played with Bob Clark and Gretzky and a couple other people, and so it was important for me just to get that. To know how to play in the bigger rents, and how play better defensively, and still play for your country. Everyone has pride at their company, and I love Canada. I grew up there my whole life, and I still go fishing in the summer with my family, and so it's just it's special for me. But it means a lot. Like I know a lot of guys win Stanley Cups with other teams and members, but playing for your country is really special.
And I'm going to just point out, because you didn't mention it, that you were on the ice for Gretzky Mario at the Canada Cup. That's right, right?
Well, it was the second overtime of the second game.
That's right.
So
yeah.
like I was Gretzky and Lemieux on I might have passed it to Lemieux, but it didn't matter because we forced a game 3, which was if we didn't, we'd be a big flop. But
Right.
I think that it was a great series after that, and so I was really happy to win it and to be on the winning side of the goal.
So many say
No
that's
kidding.
the best hockey that anyone's ever seen. I know the Four Nations just recently completed was pretty good too, but the '87 Canada Cup, I still have,
Yes.
Ryan. I remember watching it. I have a VHS tape of the '87 Canada Cup. I'm not kidding you. I don't have a VHS player. I don't know if those exist anymore, but I still have a VHS tape of the '87 Canada Cup, which was awesome. I want to go back to your first year in the league, 79-80 in Philly. You guys were on a run which was magical. You just could not lose. There's many things that happen to rookies in their careers in the NHL, but that season for you, not just on a personal note, you put up a lot of points too, but that must have been pretty special with what the team was doing and how well they started, especially.
Yeah, it was had great leadership, like with Bob Clark. He was a great leader, and at that time they had Reggie Leach and Bill Barber and Ken Linsman and Paul Holmgren and Brendan and Frank Brave and a couple other guys. But Pete Peters was a rookie too, and so we were both rookies together in 79-80, and so Pete played really well at the start, and that's why we had the 35 undefeated streak. And so that was pretty amazing at the start. And, I think we had like 6 guys in the All-Star game that year. Like that was when Gordie Howe was still playing. And so I remember playing in the All-Star game in 80 with the new rink, Joe Louis. And I saw the ovation that he got for 15 minutes was out of this world. And then, of course, I played with Reggie Leach and Phil Esposito on the line.
Amazing.
And scored a goal and an assist. And so it was all special at that first year.
It's moving ahead a little bit to teammates that you had a little later on. You write quite a bit about Brad McCrimmon and Mark Howe. Just a little bit about what made those two gentlemen, still, one of them, unfortunately, is we don't no longer have, makes them special people on the ice and off the ice.
Yeah, they're both really good leaders. Like Mark Howe was a quiet leader. Brad McCrimmon was more talkative. He talked to everybody, and I learned from him because we played in junior together. I always played for Melville, and he was in PA, and then we played 3 years in Brandon together, and so I learned a lot from him. He was always loud and talked a lot, and but he loved talking hockey. And that's where Mark Howe and Brad McCrimmon were roommates together. And so they talked hockey all the time. And I was with them. We had a lot of fun. And, at that time we didn't have phones and videos. And so we hang up with the people. We drank beer together. We had fun times and talked about hockey. And so it was a special time. But both of those guys were great leaders. And actually, I was really quiet at my first couple of years, but I learned from them, and with Dave Poulin especially as being a good captain that he had, and so I learned from them, and it just really made a difference. And after Bob Clark retired, that like Dave Poulin was the main guy, and Mark Howe, of course, was there too. But having the great leaderships and playing with the teams in the 80s like we had with Tim Kerr, it was special because we were in the playoffs every year and had a chance to win a Stanley Cup.
One of the tragedies that you went through in the NHL was the loss of Pelle Lindbergh. And I remember when he came into the league, and I was fascinated by him. Maybe it was the white mask that he had, which kind of drew me. And I played goalie when I was young as well. He passed away in that tragic car accident. Can you give us a little bit of a sense? Number one, I can imagine how that was for you and the rest of the team, but just the type of person that he was, and just how tragic a loss that was, because he had such talent, and it's too bad that we were never to see it come full bloom, so to speak.
Yeah, so like we both came in together at the same time, and then of course Pele played in the minors for a couple of years, but he was getting into he won the Vetenis the year before, and he didn't lose the game like that year, and so he was just getting into his really good, and unfortunately it was unfortunate that he passed away with that night. It was a big break, and but he was special for me because I used to like skating, scoring against him all the time, even in practice. I'd hit it until I scored, and they hated that, like Hextall and Pele. But the band, the bond that we got together just by being competitive, and of course he was a fast goalie. And he loved Bernie Propp, because I talk with Bernie Propp all the time, and he was kind of doing the same thing. He was fast on his feet, and he cut up the angles, and so he was just getting to be one of the best goalies at that time. And who knows? Maybe we could have won a Stanley Cup if he was still alive. But you still have to deal with it yourself. And of course, Keenan was a coach that year, and so he had us to the house like the first week, so we had a lot of chance to get together and talk with other people, and because it's difficult for people when you lose somebody like that, but you have to get over it and still do your job, and of course we had good players and good teams, and so that's why we did as well as we did with. The coaching was different because we ran our own team, and we had the players that were leaders that didn't make excuses, and so it was special in the 80s.
Still one of the most sad and tragic stories of the NHL of the generation, though. I think we all kind of remember what we were doing when we heard that news. You just mentioned Bernie Propp and Ron Hextall, and probably one of Hextall's most famous scenes, we'll call it, is when he, during 89, came to your defense a couple games later after you were almost killed, as you put it, and accurately, I think we would all agree, by Chris Chelios. You're very candid about your relationship with Chris Chelios in your book. Several times you bring him up. This is my question, is there enough racetrack left in life for him to still make amends and apologize, do you believe, or is it just done?
If he wanted to, I'd be happy to have a call with him because you're older, and you don't have to worry about your life. I mean, I've done whatever I needed to do. Just don't admire him for what he did, and he's not sorry. But if we had a talk together, I'm sure we'd be good friends after that. But the things that he's done, I didn't admire that in the book. And of course, with Ron Hextall coming up to my aid after the Game 6, when we were coming over it. But I admire him for being a great leader and for sticking up for his teammate, which was awesome.
Yeah,
it was
awesome. The key word being stick.
Keyword
being sticking.
Well, he got 12-minute suspension from that the next year, which hurt us in 1990.
Yeah, but some things are more important and some things are bigger. And I don't think he minded the 12-game suspension. I still don't think he minds looking back at it now.
The trade deadline, Brian, is coming up tomorrow in the NHL at 3 Eastern time, and we were going through different things on the podcast here too about who may be traded, who's already been traded in the league. I want to go back to when you were traded, 89-90 from Philly. You spent a bunch of years in Philly. You went to Boston. You talk about it in the book. Just take us back to that moment when you found out that you were being traded to Boston.
How did it feel?
Well, I kind of knew what was going to happen on because I had a hand injury. I had a hole in my artery for 27 games, and so I couldn't, my hand was messed up, and so. But at the end, I just started skating, and I played a couple games at the end of March, and then I was able to. I kind of knew that I was going to be traded, but Bob Clark did me a favor because at that time the Flyers, were not going to make the playoffs, and Dave Poulin got traded in January to Boston, and then Kenny Linsman was traded back to Philadelphia. So Bob Clark did me a favor because Boston was number one in the league that year, and so we went into the finals, and of course we had the 33 overtime first game, which hurt us. But Edmonton was pretty good at that time too.
Yeah.
But for me, it was kind of like I knew what was happening, and then I was going to be a free agent. And then, of course, Bob Clark got fired by the Flyers, and he brought me to Minnesota for 3 years, which I appreciate that. But it was, I would have been loved to play in Boston another couple of years, but they didn't offer me the right amount. But because we didn't make that much, but you did what you did.
You did do what you did, and you didn't make that much. And you actually make a few comparisons between the game then when you played and the game now. What's one element that was better when you played in early 80s, starting late 70s, early 80s, and so forth? What was better about the game that we're missing now?
Well, I liked the physical game because I was a scorer, but I liked the physical game. But of course, I also had top players from the Flyers all those years.
Right.
But it's more exciting. It's you could hit somebody, you get held or cross-checked or slashed, just a little edge. But now the guys they don't get hurt that much, and so it's just it's a little much faster. But I think that we talked about hockey more. We lived in the game a little bit more. We hung out a lot together, and we partied together, and we had good times. And but in the 80s, it was I like that it was tougher, and I know a lot of All-Star games that when I first started, everyone really tried. It was 4-2 or 4-3 or where the scores because everyone cared, and so but it's changed a little bit more for that. It's more for a show, but I enjoyed the 80s and 90s when I loved it.
Here's my thing about the All-Star game, especially after seeing this Four Nations. Remember when it was Team North America against Team World? You probably remember that. And I just want the competition back in the game. I mean, this is a glorified game of shinny, as you said. It's entertainment. I understand that. But when you play for something like that, you've been in these All-Star games. I want to see more of an effort. I know players don't want to get hurt. That's fine. But it just seems to me that a lot of the luster for me is lost in the All-Star games recently.
Well, you got to remember, there's 32 teams now, so in the 80s, with less teams, and that's why we had 6 guys in the All-Star game for the 35 undefeated streak, and a couple of the Islanders and the Oilers, and so everyone has to pick one player, so that fills out the whole team. So you can't find the right people or but it is. It's just it means a lot for the guys that would get picked. But again, it's they want to be hurt and things like that. But I love the way they did it. The last month ago, 4 teams. But of course, everybody you would want to go against the Czechs and the Russians too. But it just made a big difference.
It did make a big difference. Coming back, I'm circling back to the last question I asked you when what was better back then. What's better about the game now? Anything?
Well, it's much faster and it's still entertaining, especially when they get into the playoffs. I mean, the playoffs mean a lot. So I just tell people, hey, listen, as long as they get into the playoffs, you have a chance because you never know what's going to happen. and of course, it's close now. Like the division that the Flyers are in is really tight, and it'll come right down to the last week or so before you get on a winning streak that it makes a big difference. But it's hockey the way it is like you have to deal with it. I think that.
Do one
Fair
more
enough.
before we get into the 77 seconds with you, Brian. Again, you can take 777 seconds. It doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want with that. We're going to have some fun with you. But I want to go back to what you just said about Philly and the division. And you've been outspoken about how coaches treat young players. And a lot of times this season in Philly, we've seen John Tortorella and how he's handled or mishandled Matvei Michkov. Where do you stand on a talent like a Michkov is, very young, and John Tortorella being quite stern on how he approaches him, and he'll healthy scratch him? Is that good for somebody like a Michkov? Because there's a lot of people that think that could be a negative.
I'm gonna make a fibber out of Ryan because I want to ask you one more before we get to 77 seconds. You actually devote a whole chapter in your book to your favorite moments on the ice with different teams, NHL, Junior, International. This is such an unfair question. If you had to pick one, your favorite on ice moment from anywhere, what would it be?
You've
That's
had some
wonderful.
great success on the ice, and the best thing is you've had great success off of it, certainly coming back from where you were back in 2015. So we're going to get into 77 seconds now with you, and this, again, is just we're having fun. Take as much time as you need, some hockey questions,
some
questions, non-hockey questions to end this segment. You have played under some great coaches in your career. Characterize Mike Keenan, if you can, in one word. We had Mike on not too long ago. We had a great discussion.
Yeah, we did.
With him. Yeah,
that was a great discussion. What's special about Flyers fans? They do. They absolutely do.
Your most hated arena to visit when you were playing?
What about, okay, a bonus one. What about fans? Like, which fans did you hate playing in front of the most somewhere else? You make a case in your book for this one, so I am going to ask you, why should you be in the Hockey Hall of Fame? I would also mention the 1,003 points in the regular season in the NHL. That's probably a part of it too.
How much money, Brian, did you have to pay to play for the Melville Millionaires?
No,
How much did you have to pay to play for them?
Not exactly millionaire money.
No.
Yeah, that's right.
That's good.
You do get to say that. Okay, so what's your favorite cigar on the market right now? Now tell us where we can buy them.
Were Cooperalls comfortable or uncomfortable to wear?
Okay, very last one. The guffaw. Where does the guffaw come from? That's an awesome story. I love the cross-sectionality of that with an entertainer and you, and now you are Brian Guffaw Propp, obviously.
Yes.
Brian, this has been great. We're out of time. We do appreciate this. And the best thing about this is that we appreciate you still being here. And I know a lot of people do as well.
Yes.
So thank you for the time today. And yeah, great book. Congrats on it. Where can people find the book as well in case they don't have it?
That sounds great. Thank you very much for joining us. It was a wonderful discussion.
This has been Pucks in 7, available on the SiriusXM app and wherever you get your podcasts.